Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news with less than 2 days to go of this transfer window. How confident are you feeling? Get in the comments, let us know what you're thinking. I nearly started singing then, rap sing, Chamberlain. I'm not going to do that. It's not that sort of a show. I mean, look, we wake up this morning. It's a news show, so I'll try and, just give you the news. I obviously have my own personal opinion on that news, but effectively, I suppose we're starting this second to last day of the transfer window in the guise of positivity in relation to what's being reported this morning. So Cucurella, these are both basically Fabrizio Romano stories. Amrabat bid about to go in. Man United locked in talks with Fiorentina on that one. And also Cucurella are very close to joining Manchester United. We'll start with those two stories. We've also got a big update on Rasmus for you. We've got we've got the Champions League draw later. That's a signpost. We'll be live at 5 o'clock for that. A bit on Johnny Evans and any other sort of shocks that we might get. Good morning, everybody. People actually saying morning, Mark. They treat me like a human being. That's absolutely fantastic. Right, let's get into it then. Obviously, look, Harry Maguire's going to get picks for England today. I'm fuming. I think Harry Maguire's a joke. I think he's got a very, very, very hard journey back at United now. And I think it's of his own making. He actually is what he says, isn't he? He really comes across as an arrogant, nothing to prove, unambitious footballer who is staying at United for the money. He's not a Man United fan. I've never heard him say I'm a Man United fan. I don't get it. I don't get this. And Southgate indirectly has screwed us over because Southgate has basically created this Maguire persona where he can sit there and say I've got nothing to prove, where he can run his contract down earning good money because Southgate will pick him for England. If Gareth Southgate grew a pair and ran that national team properly and said, you've had 3 months to find a football club, I ain't picking you for England, you've sat on your arse, unambitious, you're not wanted at Man United and you've not gone and found a football club, you're not in the England squad, mate. And instead he's gone, come on, you're in my room, let's play a bit of chess. It's disgusting how Southgate is running that national team. And it's cost us. It's cost us. Because Maguire would not sit there with nothing to prove if England weren't picking him. So indirectly, Southgate screwed us over. He is, and look, he's got no right or care for Man United, but he has screwed us over and he has created this Maguire monster of a player that's had 3 months to find a move and has decided to sit there and stay at the club. A club where he knows nobody wants him. I don't agree with the booing or anything like that, but Ten Hag doesn't want him. They won't want him in the dressing room. And, most of the fans don't want him as well. But he's happy to sit here and just, ignore what the manager wants to stay at the club because he knows he'll get picked for England. And, he's probably sat there smiling, thinking, I hope Varane's out for a bit longer. I'm only one more injury away from getting game time because there's nobody else. I really hope that if Lindelof gets injured, he picks Johnny Evans. I will love that. I will bloody love that if Johnny Evans gets picked ahead of Harry Maguire. I will love it. I will be absolutely loving it. Give me the headphones. I'll tell you what, I will love it. I will love it if Lindelof gets injured and then Maguire still doesn't get picked because it's Johnny Evans. I will love it. I will love it. But nice little prop that. Anyway, let's get into the show. So, look, Fabrizio is saying that Amrabat, and can I just say as well, this is a news show and we put a lot of work into this community, as you know. And when I say put a lot of work in, we do a lot of shows. And there's something I want to come back on because I did say that United would spend £200 million, keep the receipts. And a lot of people are saying you're going to be wrong, Mark. Well, I've got something to say about that. But what we do keep receipts for as well is we keep receipts for what journalists say. And you earn your reputation from your credibility as a journalist. And Fabrizio has said on this show and on his own stuff numerous times that Man United want Amrabat and Amrabat wants Man United. And this has been going on for 2 months. And yet we have had certain UK outlets saying, no, United don't want him. It's the Italian press over-egging the pudding. I spoke to a source at United and they pulled their face up. I spoke to a source and they said if Amrabat leaves Fiorentina, it won't be to Man United. And yet Fabrizio has been completely consistent all the time saying Amrabat is what Ten Hag wants, and Ten Hag is what Amrabat wants. So you've got to call it out this summer, because it is what it is. And I think that the UK transfer journalists have been completely and utterly sat down by the Italian press this season, this summer transfer window. The UK press know less than what we know. Like, they've not exclusively got anything. I think the Mason Mount one, they did okay, but mainly, and look, the Amrabat thing, people have sneered at it, but it's been absolutely spot on. So I think with Amrabat, it's Amrabat or nothing for Man United now. The latest coming out of Italy is that Fiorentina are fully aware that they're sort of screwed in a sense. Whether you can call it bully boy tactics, big club tactics. They've had offers for Amrabat that they would like to accept that United will not offer. But Amrabat won't go there. He wants to come to... It's the Ten Hag pull again. Whether you like it or not, the one success of this summer transfer window is the Ten Hag pull. Whether it's Rasmus, whether it's Onana, whether it's Mount, and now it is Amrabat. It's really, really down. It comes down to that, and that's where we are. And it's obviously it's very advantageous when you've got a player that's getting offers from elsewhere who is holding out for Manchester United. So I think with that, Amrabat to Manchester United, you've got to expect it to happen in the next couple of days. I would rather we just paid the money, because we're not talking massive amounts of money here. We're talking, 25 million quid, something like that. And I think United should be able to find that. I don't really like the idea of such a key player being a loan player, because I think that ultimately, I don't think it helps anybody, does it? Because if Amrabat does okay and then we get new owners, people will be saying send him back to Fiorentina. I don't think it's fair to say that. Shoz says that Ten Hag's got zero pull. I mean, mate, you're clearly not a United fan. I tell you what, Shoz, you've got zero pull because you're blocked. You're an idiot. We're an idiot-free zone in here, Shoz. I know we get lots of rivals coming in because all your fan channels are shit, but Ten Hag has got pull, and we're not here. We don't have little cameos from Pratt who talk shit on here. We tried to have a proper community chat. Mount didn't go to Arsenal or Liverpool because he wanted to play for Ten Hag. Onana didn't go to Chelsea because he wanted to play for Ten Hag. And Hojlund didn't go to PSG or Chelsea because he wanted to play for Ten Hag. And Amrabat hasn't gone to Atletico Madrid, Liverpool or Nottingham Forest because he wants to play for Ten Hag. Nobody says Man United are going to win the league. Nobody said that Man United are a well-run club. But Ten Hag has been the pull for the minimal transfer activity we've done this season. You can get bitter and jealous about that. I don't really understand what you've got to be jealous about Man United for. But the positive, and there aren't many positives, is that these players want to play for Ten Hag. And, it's you might not be happy about the pull of the player, but it is what it is. So we expect a bid to go in for Amrabat today. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I will hit this head on before we move on to a few other bits. But I did say, and you know what, I should be sponsored by a barber's because I get clipped up more than anything. And I did say, I put a tweet out last night and somebody had the clip of me saying, keep the receipts. I'm telling you now, Man United will spend £200 million. Absolutely spend. And I said that in May and June. I'm not the director of football of Man United. And, nothing is ever set in stone. So, on the face of it, it appears I'll be wrong on that one. But I said Man United would spend £200 million because I know what the plan for Man United was this summer. And we all know what the plan was. And when I said that, it was in response to people saying, well, I bet we won't even spend 100. And I never said it was going to be a good summer transfer window. I just said to all the doom people, we will spend 200 million quid. So we've spent about, I think we spent about 170 million, haven't we? Something like that. If you add up Rasmus, Mount and Onana, I think we've spent about 170 million quid. So we're about 30 to 40 million pounds short of the 200 million I said we would spend. That's not because, well, I am wrong, and anybody who agreed with me is wrong, but we're not wrong because that wasn't the intention. That was the intention. We're wrong because Murta has messed it up. Murta mess up. Mercer's messed. Murta madness. Murta's messed his pants, more like. There was 60 million quid that we should have got from Maguire and McTominay, and that would have been spent. And that would take the 160 to 220, which is what I was talking about. It's what everybody expected. The plan from Ten Hag was to buy a centre-back and sell Maguire. So that would have been another £30 million spend anyway, which would have took us to nearly 200 million. And then you buy Amrabat, which takes you beyond that. So the £200 million should have been spent. I'll put my hands up tomorrow night. I'll be live for the deadline day, last few hours anyway. And if United don't spend £200 million, I'll say, look, I got it wrong. I did get it wrong. But I'm not the director of football. And if I was the director of football, we would have spent the £200 million that Ten Hag was expecting. We'll have to wait and see. We should replace Arnold with Overmars, says Big. And I'm going through some personal issues at the moment. Thank you, Mark, for keeping me sane. Thank you, Zomla. And I hope and wish you all the best. I have a feeling that the Glazers are holding into the club because of the Super League, says Mohammed. Who knows? Who knows? So, look, we should get an Amrabat deal this next couple of days. Whether it's a loan deal or we actually sign him, I don't know. I've got to be honest. Last night, and I was very passionate last night. I was very fed up last night. I was very disappointed. It was a very good show. I thank everybody who tuned in on the 8 o'clock show last night because it's therapy. It helps me. I'm sure it helps you. This morning, new day. It's a new life. It's a new chance. It's a new opportunity. There's hours ahead of us. You hope for different outcomes. I've got to be honest. I was looking this morning, and this is how sad I am. I was looking this morning at previous transfer windows with 2 days to go and I was even looking at how many deals we've done in the last 2 days of a transfer window, how many deals we've done when it's completely out of the blue in the last few transfer windows in the last couple of days. And it don't look good, bruv. It don't look good, bruv. It really doesn't look good for an exciting, unknown, Gravenberch or, João Felix. It's not looking good for that at all. I'd say there's not no chance, but there's a very slim chance that we're going to do anything like that. What about selling Maguire or McTominay this late? No, that they've ridden the storm there. Those two, M&M, they've survived, and I don't really have a lot of time for McTominay and Maguire anymore. I think they are unambitious players on the gravy train of Man United who just want to stay here for an easier life, earning money. I don't really have a lot of time for them as footballers in relation to their ability, and I don't really have a lot of time for them in relation to their dragging this football club down. 60 million quid there that we could have used to step forward, and we're still using these shit players that we've had for the last 3 or 4 years. So it's up to you what you think about those players. I've got no interest in them at all now. If they turn it round and they do really well, obviously I'm going to support them. That's what you do with a Man United player. But it's hard not to see them for what they are. Unambitious, dragging us down players. And we've had plenty of those over the years and we don't learn our lessons. So I don't see them going. I wish they bloody would. Donny surely will go. Eric Bailly surely will go, and then it's Amrabat and Cucurella if we can get those done. Red since 1975 says United's a self-indulgent boys club. High five, self-congratulatory pats on the back. I genuinely feel that certain elements within the club are jealous of Eric Ten Hag contacts and standing, says Red since 1975. We spent and had good players but bad coaches, employing Fergie's mates, Fletcher, no experience, Ollie, Carrick, Giggs, McLaren, Evans, even Evans' wife. Brand, our board has 2 footballers calling shots at 80 years of age, says G. We're a joke of a club, Mark. Wouldn't surprise me if we bid for Arnautovic. Murta is due one of his holidays where he comes back empty-handed, says Dan. And with Amrabat arrival coming soon, do you reckon United could still hijack Gravenberch, says Alvaro. Look, the thing is, we all know United's a badly run club, and G makes a great point there. We all talk about the Glazers, we talk about Murta, we talk about Arnold, we talk about Maguire, we talk about McTominay, we talk about the obvious negative elements within that football club. But even if you removed all those things, there are still facilitators in that club. Like, those 5 players, those 5 names I've just mentioned are obvious targets for issues within the club. But there's loads and loads of other issues. I mean, and he lists quite a few there. There's a lot of nepotism at Manchester United, and nepotism is favouritism through not ability, but, mates rates. And that's been going on at United for years. So, there's so much wrong with that football club. It genuinely, I'm not even talking about Qatar here. Even if it just needs new ownership and tearing down and rebuilding, in a structural sense. And what terrifies me is that we get a new owner and they're like, Gary, can you come and work for us? Or Rio, or Roy, or Nicky, or Ryan, can you come and work for us? And I'm like, look, these are legends of the club as players, and they are Man United. They know what Man United's all about. But I don't see Man City doing that. Vincent Kompany's doing a good job at Burnley. He's one of the most famous Man City players. They haven't brought him back. Like, you employ specialism. You employ expertise. United have just got it's what destroyed Liverpool for 30 years, the boot room. Liverpool had this boot room where they just recruited from within through the 70s and 80s, and they were massively successful, and they tried to continue it in the Premier League era, and it didn't work. But United are obsessed with it. Oh, he's played for United, and he's just got relegated and he's 35. Give him a contract. It's like, and I've got nothing against Johnny Evans. I really do like him, and I hope he plays instead of Maguire, but it's terrifying. I mean, look, I want to go through the news, but I did say this morning on Twitter. Manchester, just listen to this, right? Manchester City have won 3 Premier League trophies in a row. We've done that twice, and we hold the record for that. Man City have equalled that. Man City have just won a treble. We were the only club in English football that had done that, and it was unique, and I think many of us thought throughout our lifetime no one would ever do that. So Man City have broken 2 of our big records, 3 Premier Leagues in a row, and they've won a treble. And they did that in early June. Man, that's not 1 kick in the nuts, it's 2 kick in the nuts to a football club. Most football clubs, when that happens, would be calling for a major meeting throughout the club saying, we've got to stop this, and we've got to stop it now. We should have stopped it before then, but we've got to stop it now. That's what a football club would do. Liverpool would do that if United had done it. What have we done? Man City have just had not a slightly better transfer window, a majorly better transfer window. Kovacic, Nunez, Doku, Vardiel, they're not done yet. United have had a shit transfer window when Man City have just broken 2 of our major records and had a better transfer window. It makes you want to cry. I almost feel like with some of our fans, you've got to knock on their heads and say, what's the plan? What is the plan? Because you get a few thousand people after the Forest game sitting in, legends. You get a few thousand people doing protests, legends. But still the ground's still going to be full for the next home game. People are still buying kits. And I'm not saying those people are wrong going to games, buying kits. I'm not saying it's wrong, but what I'm saying is our club, we can't just sit here and keep saying it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. It's the direction of the club. It's unbelievable. We are a football club. Manchester United is a football club. Who we are, what we represent, why we're known, what we've done, the story, we are Manchester United Football Club. We do not exist as a football club anymore. We're just this name that drifts into the ocean, heading towards another waterfall. It's incredible. It's incredible. And for all the moanings and all the PR and all the spin, what you cannot spin away from is that Man City, our city rivals, won a treble, which was ours. They've won 3 Premier Leagues in a row, which was ours. And our response to that is nothing. I've seen more passion in an ant's fart. It's terrible. And Man City, who were already miles ahead of us, let's say Man City were 20 steps ahead of us. They're now 25. Because we've actually looked to them in the distance and gone, we need to close the gap on them and let them they've extended the gap without kicking a ball. There has to be a better plan. There's got to be a better plan. I want so many people out of that club. For me, it's not, the Glazers are the tip of the iceberg. You can visually see the problem. If Man United's the Titanic We can see the iceberg. Iceberg dead ahead, and it's the Glazers. But there's a lot under the sea. In fact, what sunk the Titanic was the iceberg, but it was the bit under the water that caused the damage. The Glazers are the tip of the iceberg. Of course they are. They're the visible danger. But there is a lot of problems in that football club below that. Facilitators of the Glazers. The Glazers are the main problem at United. But there's people who've been working for the Glazers at United for years. They get a free ticket. There's so much. Why are people within United? Why is, you talk about, over the years we've had Mike Phelan, we've got Darren Fletcher, you've got Steve McLaren. Why are these people not doing more? They're United people. Why are they not doing more? Do they not care? Can they not do anything? Are they just coaches? I just think as fans, we're left on our own so much. And, we'll have another interview where, we want to win every game. Ten Hag's going to come out and say we want to win every game. With all due respect, Eric, you can say you want to win every game and you want to win every trophy, but you're not going to, mate. You're simply not going to. You were miles behind Man City. You were behind Arsenal, and both of them have had much better transfer windows than you. Are you a manager or are you Harry Potter? Like, the positive spin doesn't work anymore because the reality is staring us in the face. Eric Ten Hag should not include Harry Maguire in the Premier League squad when the list has to go. Clearly he doesn't want him, says Adrian. Well, that's just another indication, Adrian. We'll come back to that in a minute, but that's just another indication of what we are as a football club, because Harry Maguire's actually got Man United by the balls. It's tragically depressing, but Maguire's got more power than Richard Arnold, John Murta or Eric Ten Hag, because they've told him to go and he's still here and he's going to play games for United. How can that ever be right? How can that ever be right that a player wins the battle? They've told him to go. They've told him he's not captain. They've told him he's not trusted. And he's sat there going, well, I'm in the England squad and I'm still here. And Varane's injured and you haven't bought a centre-back and I'll end up playing games. So, you can tell me what you like. You can say I've got to go. You can tell me I'm not part of the future. Well, I'm still here. I'm still Elton John. I'm still standing, With Amrabat arrival coming soon. We've done that anyway, Alvaro. Look, could we move for Gravenberch? Back on track. Look, United are completely and utterly useless. But even when we've been completely and utterly useless, remember the summer we didn't get Sancho and we spent all summer trying to get Sancho. And then in the last few days, we bought Ahmad and Pellistri and Cavani. So United can still do business in the next 24 to 48 hours and will do some business in the next 24 to 48 hours. But it's on you as a fan as to whether you want to have the wool pulled over your eyes. If we did get Gravenberch and Amrabat, are you suddenly going to go, it's a good transfer window? Because some of you will. I'll sit here and say, look, it's better than nothing, but it's not a good transfer window. It is what it is. It's been a shambles. So Amrabat bid is going to go in, and I suspect that deal will get done. I'm hoping it will be a permanent transfer rather than a loan deal. I think a loan deal is embarrassing for the reasons we spoke about last night. I think with regards to Cucurella, let's talk about that. In regards to Cucurella, he did play last night for Chelsea. Didn't get injured. A lot of people said, why did he play last night for Chelsea? Because Man United are, what's the word for Man United? Monitoring, keeping an eye. Look, Cucurella, personal terms are done. He wants to come and play for Manchester United. But Man United and Chelsea have not agreed a fee. So Chelsea last night picked him as a bit of an up yours to Man United to say, look, if he gets injured, he gets injured. If we keep him, we keep him. You've got to pay us the loan fee that we want. And if you don't, we'll keep picking him for Chelsea. So it was a bit unusual that he played last night. But that was just a message from Chelsea to Man United saying, look, you haven't paid what we want. And therefore, we're going to pick him. And, that's the incompetence of United, isn't it? Because if he'd broken his leg last night, that's on us. It's not on Chelsea. That's on us. I don't think Chelsea need the money for Cucurella. I think they just want him to go because they want him to go long term and they want to sell him. But they don't need the money right now. So if he'd broke his leg last night, that's on United. That's just how bad we are at negotiating, that a player that we're trying to buy played a game last night that really didn't need to play and was a risk. United will go back in with an offer for Cucurella. We're hearing that Mert is thinking about doing it on Saturday afternoon. Don't. I'm joking, of course. But it wouldn't surprise me if Mert didn't realise the transfer window closes on Friday. So I think Cucurella, here we go. Look, I'm not going to say we're going to get here we go Cucurella today. I'm sure we will get one by 11 o'clock tomorrow night. I'd like us to get one by midday today so that we can get that deal done and move on. I think the way United are playing this window is the way that they're playing you. I think what they're trying to do is, we've got this reserve goalkeeper coming in that I don't know anything about. I'm sure that's going to get announced at some point today, and that's today's news. And then Cucurella will probably get announced tomorrow, and that's tomorrow's news. And if we get Amrabat done, ooh, you've had a fun Friday. Here's a crunchy. I think they're going to try and sell Cucurella's loan as some big deal. And I think there'll be a load of hype around it, which to me, and I'm sure many of you would agree, this leads me to believe United haven't really got a lot of business going on. Because when you're going to announce Cucurella on transfer deadline day as some big deal, then clearly you've got no big deal in your back pocket, have you? So I think we're running out of time. And as I said before, Death says, why is Maguire not in United's under-21s? Also, Ten Hag is not a victim of the Glazers' murder and Arnold. He's an accomplice, says Death. Well, a lot of people are starting to think that about Ten Hag. But, I like Ten Hag, and I don't know what he's supposed to do. I've said this about Solskjaer. I've said it about Mourinho. It's almost like an echo chamber. The amount of people who said Mourinho, Solskjaer, they're facilitators of the Glazers. And, yeah, they probably were in the end. But on the other hand, I never agree with a manager resigning. I mean, that's never going to happen, really, is it? Shame your prediction. We will spend 200 million this summer. Won't happen now. Also, this window started good, but now it's 5 out of 10 at best, says Lil. I think 5 out of 10 is very, very generous. Can ungrateful fans take it easy on Murta? He is limited by financial fair play and Glazers, and still spent 250 million last year. Hope he stays with Sir Jim, says Hybrid. Yeah, you're just a wind-up. Why would Glazers buy a 20-year-old striker for the future if they were selling now? Makes no sense. They would not care about the future unless staying, says G. And thank you very much for that. So, look, I have gone a long way round to coming to this point. I have looked at United's business in the last 2 days of a transfer window over the last few years. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good in relation to what's going to happen. And I think, as I said, Cucurella, Amrabat, this reserve goalkeeper, Donny and Bay, I'd say that's your limit in the next 2 days. I can't see, unless United have got something that they get offered really desperately tomorrow. And it can happen. You know, I remember the Igalo day. It was Rondon. It was, Josh King, and then it was Igalo. So these things can happen on final day, but they're desperation. They're desperate. So, look, something could happen, but we're not going to see what we should have happened. We're not going to see the Maguire sale or the McTominay sale. We've absolutely screwed that. And, I'm sure we'll talk about it on the show tomorrow because we're going to be live for the last few hours of the transfer window. But, I mean, for me, it's going to take a long time to move past the fact that we rejected £30 million for McTominay and we dropped... We basically had West Ham giving us 60 million quid for Maguire and McTominay, and we've still got them both. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? It's absolutely incredible. If we get Cucurella, would he be cup tied in the Carabao Cup? Yes. Yes, he would, Louis. Yes. 100%. Yeah, definitely. Just on Rasmus, a bit of a weird story coming out this morning from the Manchester Evening News that Man United are refusing to confirm whether Rasmus will be involved for the game on Sunday. I mean, I don't really know what the point of that story is. I mean, when have Man United ever announced their team for Sunday on a Thursday? Why should they announce their team for Sunday? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're playing Arsenal at the Emirates in a season-defining game on Sunday. If we lose badly on Sunday, I think our season's screwed. If we can get a win or a draw, then maybe Ten Hag can produce a miracle again. I think Sunday's an absolutely huge game. And I think we're big underdogs. And if we lose on Sunday, 6 points from 12 and Brighton after the international break, I think we're in big, big trouble. And I think the pressure and the knives will come out. So why would you announce that Rasmus Hojlund's going to play on Sunday? It's a big game away from home. Man United refused to announce whether Rasmus Hojlund will be involved on Sunday. Well, fair play to Man United. I don't normally agree with them, but sometimes they get things right. There's no way United should be saying whether Rasmus is going to be involved. I'm going to have to do the preview for Arsenal actually tonight on the 8 o'clock show, and then or we'll move it or something. I don't know. Depends if there's any transfer news. But I expect. Look, Rasmus has been training since last Friday. Rasmus wants to play. But he's not the first player in football history to say they're ready to play and the manager said, I don't think you are yet. So Ten Hag will make the decision on Rasmus. My personal feeling is he will be on the bench because it's absolutely essential that we have an option for a striker on the bench on Sunday because we're at the Emirates. Maybe Martial will start, maybe Rasmus will be on the bench, but I'm pretty sure he'll be on the bench. Maybe Rasmus will start. Ten Hag has started people before. If we got Tielemans, Evan Ndika, Thuram, Jefferson, Lerma on free, we wouldn't have to worry about getting last-minute replacements for Maguire and McTominay, says Michael. I think that's a great point by Michael because I turned my nose up at those players. I mean, I liked Ndika. I think he went to Roma. I think he would have been a good signing. Centre-back from Frankfurt. I turned my nose up at Tielemans and Thuram because I think we could have gone for better. And yet here we are, I'd take them both now. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but loaning from a competitor for top four. Could he flop on purpose, says G? Yeah. Hi, Mark. Great show as always for me. Our window is 3 and I'm being generous. I'm glad if we get Amrabat and Cucurella, but I'm not ecstatic, says Lee. You know what? I think Cucurella is a risk worth taking. But I think Amrabat is absolutely essential. And not because Amrabat's like the next bloody Kante, but because whether Amrabat is a success or a flop, it's still the right signing at this late stage because we have nobody who can play defensive midfield. It terrifies me that if Casemiro gets injured, we would have to play Scott McTominay. And that to me is, terrifying. So Amrabat's absolutely essential. We've got to get that deal done for squad depth, for rotation, but also for profile of player. And obviously we know we've got Mainu coming in. United says Champions League. Are you excited about it? Well, we will be live at 5 o'clock for the Champions League draw. It's never not exciting to be in the Champions League, but I think the team. I don't know whether I might be wrong here. Look, this is only my opinion. I might be in the minority, and if so, that's absolutely fine. But I'm not excited about United at all at the moment. I'm not excited about as a football team at all because I think we've been depressed by the owners and the people who are running it. And it's hard to be excited when you can't see the vision and you can't see what this season's all about. Last season, I didn't expect us to get top 4, but it was a free hit. It was a first season for Ten Hag. He'd made some good signings and you were like, maybe we can be competitive. The problem with this season is we had a good season last year and you want to go again. You want to progress. And I think we're going to drop a level, which is depressing. We had a good year last year. We won a trophy. We came third. You want to go up to the next level this year because that's progress. That's Man United. And I think this season, I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what the vision is. And I think if you got Ten Hag down, honestly, and he'll never do this in a press conference and he never should. But I think if you spoke to Ten Hag privately and said, are we making a step up this year? I think he'd say, well, that's the plan. That's what I want to do. But realistically, I've had a really, really hard summer transfer window. I've got players here that I wanted to sell that are still here. I look at my rivals and they've all improved. I think this season's going to be harder than last season. And I think Ten Hag would admit that privately. He can't do it publicly. He can't. And look, that's not a negative statement. I'm not saying Ten Hag would sit there and say, I'm absolutely screwed, I'm going to finish 8th. But I think he would concede that this season's going to be harder than last season because he's been let down. You cannot progress when you identify weak links and then they're still here. He's publicly sold one of these players, Maguire, and he's still here. Ten Hag should threaten resignation to save himself, says Jeeve. Nobody ever does that, though. Besides Onana, who we didn't need, we have literally spent 150 million to 200 million on backup players, says Sticks. Well, Rasmus isn't a backup player, is he? Rasmus is the big hope, isn't he? If we get Amrabat and Rasmus, ridiculously, I think our season rests on those 2 players. And how fair is that on a 20-year-old? And let's not forget, the plan for Rasmus was to sign him. But the Ten Hag's plan at the end of last season was he thought, like many of us, that Qatar would get hold of this club this summer. And he wanted Rasmus as the young up-and-coming striker, and he wanted Kane as the established world-class striker. That was his plan. He's got a 20-year-old. That's what he's got. So look, but who knows? Dean Henderson's going to sign for Crystal Palace today. Johnny Evans will get a new 1-year contract. Champions League draws coming in at 5 o'clock. Now, without Amrabat, we will be overrun versus Arsenal, says Alfred. Our midfield against them is going to be... who will it be? It'll be Eriksen. We're going to get overrun against Arsenal. The only good thing is if they pick Havertz. Look, I'm going to do the Arsenal preview later. I've got some interesting theories on that, but it might surprise a few. A few people have said, can you see United doing any... Oh, here's a good one. Marcel says, Fatty to Brighton. What are your thoughts? I think it's great for the Premier League. I think it's great for Brighton. He's injury prone, though. I saw Faz tweeting about it earlier. He's absolutely spot on. He is injury prone and it's a major risk. And I hope it works for Brighton because I really like Brighton. But if he was signing for Liverpool or Man United or Arsenal, you'd look at it and go, is that risk worth taking? I think it's worth taking for Brighton. And I'm really happy for them. And I hope it works for them. But he is very, very injury prone. Would I take him at United? No, not really, because I think United have got to trust in Rashford and Garnacho and Ahmad and Anthony and Sancho. We've got to trust in those wingers that we've got, rightly or wrongly. G says, how is Seb? Thanks for all you do. He's good. He's playing football today, so there we go. Holiday club football. Do you think somebody did say earlier, do you think there's any prospect of Harry Maguire leaving Man United or Scott McTominay? I always said to you this summer, I think both of them will survive. I've got so much respect for people like Victor Lindelof because if Ten Hag hadn't said to Lindelof, you're my third choice centre back and you'll play a lot, Lindelof would have knocked. If Lindelof was in Maguire's position as fourth choice centre back, Lindelof would have knocked on the door and said, there's clubs in Spain, there's clubs in Italy. I'm approaching my 30s. I want to play. I need to play. I love it at United, but I need to play. And he'd have knocked on his door, and Ten Hag would have respected him, and he would have let him go. Maguire is fourth choice centre-back and hasn't knocked on any door and hasn't asked to go. Ten Hag's had to call him in and say, I want to sell you. And Maguire has dug his feet in and decided he wants to stay. That is a lack of ambition. Same with Scott McTominay. It's a lack of ambition. Lads, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. If we did a poll, most people would say not good enough for United. They've not knocked on the door. They've got no ambition. Both players have had offers to go and play for West Ham, first team football in a team that's going to do quite well this year. And they've said, no, I want to stay here. So they lack ambition. I don't like that trait in any player. I can't stand it in a Man United player to know that we've got players in that squad, and they're not the only ones. To know we've got players in that squad who lack ambition, they're not Man United players for me. And what bothers me is two things about this. If they were Portuguese or French or Italian, certain ex-players and media would call them out every hour of every day. If this was Bruno Fernandes and Anthony refusing to leave the club when Ten Hag's put them up for sale and happy just to sit and earn their money, they'd get absolutely rinsed by the media. But because these are British players, they get left alone. They're unambitious and they've managed to ride out a storm where the manager wants to sell them and the fans want them to go. So that's incredible, but that's how badly Man United are run. Could you imagine this happening under Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola? Could you imagine a scenario where Pep Guardiola says to Laporte, you're up for sale, I'm not going to play you. And he goes, I'm not leaving. I'm staying. He would be in the under-21s. But he wouldn't even be in the under-21s because he'd be gone. But at Man United, we've got players that can act more powerful than the manager, more powerful than the club. And again, There's so many problems with this football club that you drowned under them. But that's incredible. But Maguire is. People are saying Maguire is expected to get named in the England squad today. Maguire is in the England squad today. I know that for a fact. Maguire is in the England squad. Calvin Phillips is apparently in it as well. Both players haven't played 1 minute of Premier League football this season out of 3 games. Last season they hardly played as well. Southgate has screwed over Man United. He's not done it on purpose, but he has screwed United over, because there is no way that Harry Maguire... Look, people say... Look, forget Calvin Phillips for a minute. We're talking about Man United. People will say, well, he should get picked for England because he's never let them down. But I don't think Michael Keane would let England down. I don't think the standard of most of the games England play in qualifiers is that good. You don't really get tested until the tournament. And he will let us down in that because he's hardly bloody playing and he's not that good. So this whole he's never let England down thing is lame. England is not a club team. England is not nepotism. It's meant to be the best of the best. And when you pick the best of the best, you've got to compete to be best of the best. If you want to go to the Olympics as a 100-metre runner for Great Britain, you don't just get picked. You've got to go and do races and prove that you're good enough. You've got to beat your rivals. Maguire's just sat there doing nothing. And he's had the whole, well, he's never let England down, he should get picked. That doesn't wash. He's had 3 months to go and find a club to play football, and he's shown no ambition to do that. And Gareth Southgate should remove his love for Maguire on a personal level in relation to he likes the player and he's never let him down. He should look at excellence. If I'm England manager, I want my players on their toes, competing against each other to be the best. What message do I send as a manager if I'm saying, it doesn't matter what you do for your club, I'm going to pick Harry Maguire? It creates an environment of nepotism, it's ridiculous. But why has Southgate screwed United? Because if Southgate had said to him, like Ten Hag did, you're not my captain anymore and I want to sell you, Maguire goes, oh, I can't coast it here anymore. I can't just run on for 2 minutes and take the armband and lift the trophy. It's a kick up the arse. And if Southgate had said to him, you've got 3 months to find a Premier League club if you want to be in my squad in September, then Maguire would have found a Premier League club. Because he's got nothing left if he hasn't got England. He's lost the captaincy, he's not playing for United. But Southgate goes, doesn't matter if you don't play, mate, I'll still pick you. So Southgate screwed us indirectly. It's all on Maguire. I'm not going to put it onto Southgate. Maguire's shown no ambition and should be playing first team football for somebody. But if you're going to get picked for England, no matter what, this is why Maguire is like he is. He's obviously surrounded by people who tell him he's brilliant, but he's also got England's manager telling him you don't need to play. So when he says things, I've got nothing to prove, you can understand why his head's in the clouds and he's so deluded. I mean, Maguire is literally surrounded by people telling him he's great. He's got no concept of reality and what he should be doing for his career. I was joking a few weeks ago. His only way back, in my mind, he needs to get in contact with one of these podcasts, like Gary Neville or Stephen Bartlett. He needs to get in contact with one of them and tell a story about his hamster dying when he was 12 or something like that. Because he needs that sort of he needs that sort of publicity to come back with. But of course, the problem Maguire's got is if he tries and does some sort of, empathy story, he won't answer any questions about Greece, which is still hanging over him, isn't it? So, look, I just think as a footballer, go and play football. And I feel massively... There's a lot of people I feel sorry for at United, but none more so than the fans. I feel massively sorry for us that we just keep getting trapped with these same mistakes. Look, Rojo did the same. Rojo wouldn't go. We've had a lot of players over the last few years that are on ridiculous money who won't go and would rather sit and earn money. And we've got to look at that as a football club. We don't look at the personality. We don't look at the attitude. We don't look at the character. We just look at, he might be a good player. And it's cost us year after year after year. We keep buying these players who've got really bad attitudes in relation to ambition and mentality. And that's why Anfield goes from 1 or 2-0, which is what most people would lose, to 7-0. That's why we have these games every now and again where we get absolutely battered, because we've created a bad mentality in that football club through recruitment and the way the club is run. We're like a fair weather team. When things are going well, we do well. But as soon as things go bad, we give up. And we've created that monster ourselves. Why can't Bruno be a number 9 when Rasmus not playing, says Biggin? I don't know. And why is not Maguire in the under-21s? Also, Terry, I've done that one from him as well. Champions League draw is at 5 o'clock. Yes, you're right. Look, I'd like to see United get a deal done today in relation to Amrabat bid, or get the Cucurella deal done. I'd love to just see us get something done. There's a lot going on in the world of football at the moment. All sorts of places. People are even bidding for Eric Dyer. So loads and loads and loads going on with regards to United at the moment, in the transfer window at the moment. But it's probably not going to be enough, is it? I think for me, if I look, you can moan, and you've got every right to moan, but also we should never be in this position, but we are. What would I be doing with this last 48 hours, 36 hours, whatever we've got left? Amrabat's the most important thing. You know, there's loads of other things we need, but Amrabat's the most important thing. We've got to get a midfielder in with a bit of bite. We have to do that. So that Amrabat deal has got to happen. Absolutely got to happen. In relation to Gravenberch, would I like that to happen? Yes, I would. I would. And I was looking at, I was reading a Liverpool article last night. And the only reason I was reading is because it was about Gravenberch. And it was a really thorough article on Gravenberch, on what his strengths are. And in Gravenberch, there is a player there that is effectively, you know, a diamond in the rough. Potentially, with the right coaching, he is a diamond in the rough. And we probably won't get that diamond. But you know what Jurgen Klopp can do with a diamond in the rough. And it's a missed opportunity. And all I would say about Gravenberch is, yes, we should be trying to get hold of him. And yes, I think, especially when we've got the manager that made that player, of course that there's a big chance that that diamond could be polished. But he probably goes to Liverpool and gets polished by Klopp instead of Ten Hag. And the ridiculous thing about that is that's the second time in 6 months that we've lost a player that really could have been special under Ten Hag. Gakpo and now Gravenberch, both going to our rival. And that's the problem, isn't it? Wherever you look, you've got Man City winning 3 Premier Leagues in a row, winning a treble, and our reaction is to let them have a much better transfer window than us. We've got 2 players that could really be special in the game, Gakpo and Gravenberch, who have a touch point with Ten Hag, and they both go to our biggest rival, Liverpool. Everywhere we look, we're just giving things to rivals, and we expect to be successful. I would say that Ten Hag had one arm tied behind his back when he started. At the moment, he's fighting with everything he's got to stop United putting the second arm behind his back. I think, as an analogy, you've always got one arm tied behind your back at United, and Ten Hag at the moment is fighting with everything he's got to stop them pulling the second one behind his back as well. It's a really, really difficult job, and it's really, really difficult to predict what's going to happen this season, because God knows what we're going to be. I mean, I'm not joking. We could come back from the international break and we could be starting Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans at centre-back in big Premier League games. Now, obviously, that means Martinez and Lindelof need to get injured, but Varane and Luke Shaw already are. You know, we're a Casemiro injury away from starting Scott McTominay. And we know what happens when that happens. So, and that's without talking about if Rashford gets injured. You know, we're probably 1 or 2 injuries away from complete and utter carnage. And I don't want to go back to those days where, you know, the latter days of Mourinho or the latter days of Ollie, where you're getting battered by West Ham or Watford or Leicester. I don't want to go back to that. And that's why I think Sunday's massive as well. Friday United stand is going to be a must-see. Yeah, we've got a lot of content for you on Friday. I'll talk to you about that tonight. But also, we've got Ten Hag's press conference, haven't we? So we'll have you covered, as we always do. Thanks everyone for tuning in this morning. A bit of a longer show, but quite a few to get through, bits to get through there. Let's see what today brings. Obviously, we're ready to go on anything that breaks. And thanks everyone for tuning in as always. And can I just finally say as well, the podcast, this week's podcast is the best listened podcast we've ever done on episode 4. So if you've not joined the Goldbridge Saves Football podcast movement, it's exclusive content on podcast each week. Links in the live chat or the video description. Give it a download and a listen and a follow, and support us on there. Or just type in Goldbridge Saves Football and you'll find it. Thanks everyone for watching. Give it a listen. Speak to it too. Thanks for watching.